Good early morning and welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. President Trump is overseas for a NATO summit in Turkey. We're standing by as the president is about to participate in an arrival ceremony and greeting with the president of the Republic of Turkey. So, of course, that beautiful plane that you see on the right there, the new Air Force One, President Trump about to deplane, and we will take it live as soon as we see him step to the top of that jetway there. And then, of course, he'll be meeting with a number of people. There are a number of NATO leaders. Now, at 8 o'clock Eastern time, so in about 45 minutes from now, the president will participate in a state arrival ceremony and honor guard review. At 8:15, the president participates in a bilateral meeting with President Erdogan of the Republic of Turkey. Of course, this is all about a NATO summit that is happening there for 2 days, and we will have live coverage right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Thanks so much for waking up with us, or if you are watching on replay, thanks so much for doing so, as we are covering this NATO summit live right now here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Now, if you missed it, just yesterday, President Trump spoke at a Rose Garden lunch. We'll have some of that, the content there in just a little bit. And in other news, the RNC Midterm National Convention will be held, of course, on September 9th and 10th of this year. Let's go to President Trump. All right, so we just saw, of course, the president meet with President Erdogan of Turkey. That was just one specific live event there. There are plenty more from President Trump's trip to Turkey, again, for this NATO summit. At 8 o'clock Eastern, the president participates in a state arrival ceremony and honor guard review. We'll have that here on Right Side. Also, 15 minutes later, the president participates in a bilateral meeting with President Erdogan of the Republic of Turkey. So 8 o'clock this morning and 8:15. In the meantime, we have a lot to get to, including some great sponsors. Let's start out with allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. As you see there, All you have to do is go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Today's the last day of the buy one, get one free sale. Our friends at All Family Pharmacy really kicking off the whole Independence Day holiday with their biggest sale of the year. And if you've been thinking about getting prepared, you don't want to miss this. Until today, they're offering buy one, get one free on ivermectin capsules, mebendazole capsules, ivermectin cream, and hydroxychloroquine. This sale was a huge success last year, and they're making it even bigger this time by adding more products. So All Family Pharmacy believes in medical freedom, patient choice, and giving Americans easier access to the medications they trust. Now, during this sale, whatever quantity you order of these select medications, they'll send you the same amount free. So if you order 30 capsules, you'll get 30 more free, so a total of 60. The process is simple. All you have to do is complete a quick online medical form. Then a licensed physician reviews your request and, if appropriate, provides a prescription. Then your medications are shipped straight to your door. So if you've been waiting for the right time to stock up and save, this is it. Sales like this only come around a few times a year. So go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Again, today's the last day for the buy one, get one free sale. You can also call 561-717-6794 for more information on various medications there at All Family Pharmacy. Also, another great sponsor here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, Birch Gold Group. You could buy some gold and put some silver in your pocket at the same time. And some people are thinking, well, it's a little expensive to buy some gold. Well, one thing you can control right now that doesn't cost you anything out of pocket is diversifying your retirement savings. So Birch Gold Group will help you convert an old 401k from a previous employer or an IRA into a physical IRA in gold. Really something that's a hedge against inflation. And check this out. Right now, Birch Gold is going to give you a special America 250 1-ounce silver round for every $10,000 you purchase by July 10th. So think about this. 10 years ago, an ounce of gold was about $1,200. Today, it's around $4,500. And the question is, where will it be 10 years from now? Just text Trump to 989898 to take advantage of free America 250 silver with qualifying purchase before July 10th. Again, text Trump to that number you see on your screen there, 989898. Great sponsors here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. If you're up bright and early with us on the East Coast, thank you. How about the Central Time Zone? Only 6:22 in the morning. 5:22 on the Mountain Time Zone. And then, of course, that's what? Let's see, 4:22 in the morning on the West Coast. But also outside of all of that, of course, when the president is several time zones away, this is how it kind of works, where we're live with you. Sometimes, if there are things that are happening at 3 o'clock in the morning, we will just kind of record that and air that live when more of us are awake. But those of you that work the overnight shift, man, shout out to you. I've worked that shift before. Anyway, it is Tuesday, July 7th. We know President Trump will be in Turkey. He's already there, just meeting with the President Erdogan of Turkey for the NATO Summit. Let's do this. We're going to go to a video of President Trump just yesterday. He was speaking at the Rose Garden lunch for quite some time. So what we'll do is we'll dip into that for a little bit here, as we have plenty to get to here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Lee Greenwood, wow, has he been great, huh? That's been with me a long time, that song. We won 3 elections with that song. And we have a country that's a much different place than it was just a short while ago. We have the hottest stock market in history. We did great the first time. We had the greatest economic numbers ever in history for the first term, and I think we're going to be blowing them away. What do you think, David? Do you agree? Goldman Sachs, David's here. We're going to be blowing them away. The numbers are all over the country. We have factories rising. $19.2 trillion investment. And please sit down. Please. I appreciate you standing up. And anytime you want to stand up and cheer, that's okay too. But we have a lot of very big people here. They don't get up and cheer too often. But they're very happy with what's happening, and we're doing very well. As you know, Venezuela was amazing, and we're getting along great with Venezuela. We paid for the war many times over, and Venezuela's doing better. The relationship is very, very good, and we're doing very well with Iran. We wiped out their Navy, their Air Force, their radar, their leaders. We wiped out everybody. And then I heard they're doing very well. No, they're not doing well at all. They want to make a deal so badly. But we'll see what happens. They have to make the right deal because they cannot have a nuclear weapon. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. You want to see a bad stock market? Let them use a nuclear weapon. I'll show you a bad stock market, right? So, but we're doing very well. They've agreed to a lot of things that a lot of people said they wouldn't agree to. We'll see what happens. We're going to win one way or the other. We'll win the nice way or the not nice way. But I want to welcome everybody to the Rose Garden. What you're sitting on, the stone, is sort of a replica of the color of the White House. This was grass, and I love grass, but you know, the White House was built on a wetland, and the grass was always very wet. And if you were sitting here right now, your shoes would be destroyed. You would be extremely unhappy with me. You'd want to leave. The men wouldn't like it, but the women would, with their beautiful, I won't name the group, but you know who I'm talking about, those extremely high heels. They'd be sinking into, I used to call it the quicksand. It was a quicksand pit. So we've redone it. We built the Presidential Walk of Fame, which starts with George Washington and goes all the way up to Trump. And it's been so popular. We've redone the path. All the stone was broken. It was in terrible shape. And we put beautiful granite pavers in that will last. They said it has a 1,000,000-year life. They go a 1,000,000-year plus. They rate stone, you know, 35,000 pounds per square inch. So think of it. Nature makes the stone far greater than we can. There's no stone that we can make. There's no concrete or mix that we can make that's 35,000 pounds per square inch. But it's gotten rave reviews. I don't know if anybody's up and seen it, but this is the walk to the Oval Office and walk to the West Wing. And so we've done a job, and we've taken about 150 years of paint off of the columns and redid them. They were in very bad shape. You know, when you have 150 coats of paint on something, it's not good. You're supposed to, what they call, strip it. I don't use a word like that too easily. I will tell you, in construction, if you don't strip the paint off, it gets worse and worse and worse, and it was looking bad. You couldn't even see the details of what was up here. We very carefully stripped it. Now we're doing it. You notice the scaffolding on the front of the White House we're doing. A lot of love is being put in the White House because, frankly, it was treated very badly by a lot of presidents. Had no idea. The last one definitely had no idea. Do you think he walked in the office and said, I don't like the shape of the columns? I don't think so, Biden. I don't like the shape of the columns. He didn't notice things like that. He didn't notice anything. But we're putting a lot of love back into the White House. This will happen every 200 years or so. You'll get somebody that will bring it back. But if you look at that wall right there, that beautiful wall of the building itself, that's been redone, and it's been done beautifully. And the best thing and the biggest thing that we're doing is we're building a ballroom and a tremendous military center. That was supposed to be top secret, but it's no longer top secret because no matter what you do, you get sued. They sue because they think the ballroom's too big, the ballroom's too small. I don't like the color of the ceiling. We don't like, you know, you get sued. In this world we're living, especially if your name is Trump, you get sued. And you get sort of good at it after a while. It becomes routine. It's ridiculous. But we're building something the likes of which will never be even close to being competed with. The ballroom is going up to there. You see, it's the hardest part is now completed, the base, and it's rising, very substantially rising. And when it's done, you know, the most you can seat is about 93 people in the White House. It was always a problem. For 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom to be built. We don't have a ballroom in the White House. We have a room that's a little bit large, but it's not a ballroom. It's a very small room. We had King Charles here. Everybody wanted to be here. We couldn't hold anybody. But soon you'll be able to. I think it's going to be one of the most beautiful structures in Washington when it's completed. And I've done many ballrooms, and this will be, there won't be anything to compete with this anywhere in the country. And that's what it should have. And it'll use it exclusively only for the White House. But it's really what it should have. When you have heads of state, it's also able to hold the inauguration. You know, we had the inauguration was so cold that when you have January 20th, it's so cold, the weather, that generally the first time we got by with it, it was good. It was, you know, like 34 degrees. But the last time it was below zero. And you weren't able, so we used the Capitol. And it's a very small space. It's not safe. It's not, you know, it's not, they didn't have drones in mind. when they built it. They didn't have other things in mind either. But we were able to get 921 people in, and this will hold many times that numbers of people without the tables as seats, and bulletproof, drone-proof, missile-proof in many cases, and beautiful at the same time, and a big military component, including on the roof, a drone port. Can you believe we have a drone port? And it's like no other. So we're doing a great service. It's great national security. We also take care of a need. Every president said, this is crazy. I'm sure that many of you, along with me, attended. We would have a presidential ceremony of some kind, or heads of state would come in. For instance, President Xi is coming here toward the end of September, the 24th, I believe. And what we need is a big ballroom. We could hold thousands of people to see him. Everyone wants to see him. Same thing with King Charles. Same thing with a lot of the leaders of countries. And now we're going to have a place the likes of which no country has. I was in the Great Hall of China recently, 4 weeks ago when I was in China. They have a very large ballroom, beautiful ballroom. We don't have that, but we're going to have one that tops everything. It won't even be close. The beauty of it and the size will be great. So it's exciting, and that'll be done. Actually, I will get to use it for, people say he's building it for himself. I'll be using it. I'll be lucky if I get 6 months, because it'll be done toward the middle of 28. So I'm really building it for other presidents, but it'll give them great safety. Glass windows that are this thick that can withstand any form of shot, rifle, drone, anyone, nothing gets through. Steel walls, steel ceiling, extra strength. I mean, it's really an amazing thing. And yet, all of that security made it more beautiful, because you have very thick walls, very powerful walls, very beautiful. We've actually taken security and made it a beautiful thing. It looks like it was built from 700 years ago. Like when I went to England, we went to Windsor Castle. It's the longest building I've ever seen. I said to Charles, it was built around like 900. It was a long time. But I said to Charles, who built this? This place is incredible. William the Conqueror. I said, oh, William the Conqueror. Was he a nice man? Charles said, no, he was extremely strong and very tough. I said, I figure with the name William the Conqueror, I would think, what do you think? I think he'd be tough, Michael. What do you think? I said, we have to come up with a good name for you, Charles. Maybe Charles the Conqueror. No, please. But William the Conqueror built a great building. But we are building one that's going to top them all, and it's going to be beautiful. It's gotten great architectural reviews. And more importantly, it got great military. We're doing it in conjunction with the military and the generals. And these are smart, brilliant generals that know exactly what they're doing, what they want. I'm giving them everything they want.
All right, of course, President Trump at the Rose Garden just yesterday during lunch speaking to a number of people. Now, if you want to catch that entire speech there, of course, it's on our social platforms all across the internet. Also, we may dip back into some of that speech in just a bit. We have a number of things to get to as, of course, President Trump is overseas in Turkey for the NATO Summit. We'll get to that as well. Coming up at 8 o'clock Eastern time, there's some more footage live that we'll be seeing here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to a few of our sponsors in the meantime. Kalshi.com/RSBN. Kind of sporting a tie that kind of matches Kalshi today. Kind of cool. Anyway, Kalshi.com/RSBN. You can go to the QR code, download the app if you'd like. There are, as you guys may know, a ton of topics to whether if you're betting or trading or checking out polls. Kalshi is all over the place when it comes to all of these topics out there. Specifically, there are political, elections, all sorts of stuff that are topics that you can choose from, including sports. I know Team USA lost to Belgium 4-1 yesterday. There was a lot of people talking about that on Kalshi. But outside of sports, outside of politics, there's weather, there's music, there's all sorts of stuff that people talk about. Check it out. Create an account there, Kalshi.com/RSBN. Also, Cove Pure, a great sponsor here on Right Side. And of course, on the heels of celebrating America 250, Freedom 250, But here's the interesting part. 250 years later, we're still drinking whatever the government decided to put in our water. Fluoride for your teeth, chlorine to keep things clean. Well, that's not a decision someone else should be making for your family, which is why you should just simply use Cove Pure, because more than 209 million Americans, and there's 347, give or take, 347 million people across our country. 209 million Americans are now on this fluoridated water, this tap water, awful stuff. And here's what the science actually shows. A recent study confirmed that fluoride exposure is linked to lower IQ scores in children, and that's not just a fringe study. That's from JAMA Pediatrics, one of the most respected medical journals in the world. And then you have the chlorine as well in there, not good stuff. And that isn't even the worst part. It's what happens when it reacts with natural particles in the water from plants and soil. It creates this chemical byproduct called THMs, which the government itself calls probable human carcinogens, linked to disruption of your gut and cancer. So there are states moving on this. Utah and Florida ban fluoride, but that process takes years. Your kids, your family, they're drinking this water, unfortunately, today. So you need something that works now, and that's exactly what Cove Pure is. They're certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants. So fluoride, THMs, pharmaceuticals, PFAs, anything that isn't water gets filtered out. And look how great it looks right there on your countertop. If you're thinking this is some complex home system that you're gonna have to drill holes in and get it installed and all that, well, it's not. The thing just plugs right in, makes your water taste great, and the best part is it gives you whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, or warm with a tap of a button. So don't wait for the government to catch up. Take control of your water, and in honor of America's 250th, Cove Pure is giving you guys $250 off if you use that link, covepure.com/RSBN. All right, it is 7:37, Tuesday, July 7th. Did you see the Air Force One this morning or last night? You know, one of President Trump's major first overseas trip, I believe, right, in Air Force One. We actually have a clip of him boarding Air Force One just last night. It's only about 30 seconds, but it's worth a shot to see. That's clip number 5 as President Trump boarded Air Force One at Joint Base Andrews on his way to Turkey. Check it out. And if you were with us here at around 7:15 this morning, we saw President Trump deplaning from Air Force One there in Turkey. And since we're live a lot, crew, if we can get that clip, that'd be awesome. The clip of President Trump just arriving once again. So for those of the new viewers that are slowly trickling in on this early morning live broadcast, because of course it's well into the afternoon out there in Turkey. So again, President Trump there for 2 days for a NATO summit. And speaking of NATO, let's go to clip 6 as we get ready to see this summit transpire over the next 2 days.
Hi, welcome to Ankara, the heart of Turkey.
Where history, culture, diplomacy, and a strong defense industry meet.
Located at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and Africa, regulating navigation through the Turkish Straits from the Mediterranean to the Black Sea, Turkey occupies a unique position in global security, trade, and connectivity.
Ankara, once home to many ancient Anatolian civilizations, now hosts impressive museums, prestigious universities, as well as the mausoleum of Atatürk, the founder of the Republic of Turkey. Atatürk chose Ankara as the capital for its central and strategic location.
Feeling hungry? As you explore the city, you should try the famous Ankara simit, a delicious, thin and crispy bread, perfect to eat on the go.
But Ankara is much more than iconic street food and remarkable history. The city is home to Turkey's largest defense industry companies and serves as a major hub for military engineering and advanced technology. Turkey joined NATO in 1952 and has played an active role in the alliance ever since.
Turkey has contributed significantly to NATO's collective defense, including with the second largest army in the alliance. And this year's NATO Summit will take place right here at the presidential compound in Ankara.
Ankara'ya hoş geldiniz. Welcome to Ankara.
We are meeting here in Ankara 1 year after NATO leaders gathered for our summit in The Hague, where allies made historic commitments. They agreed on the urgency of making our alliance stronger because of the dangerous world we face. They committed to invest 5% of GDP in defense by 2035. And now, just 1 year later, we already see transformational progress. Here in Ankara, I expect nations to present clear, concrete and credible plans to reach that 5% goal. And the evidence we see so far is impressive. Just 1 year into a 10-year project, we see that European allies and Canada are already investing around 4% of their GDP in defense and security. This includes major increases to allies' investments in core defense, as well as their defense and security-related investments. Last year, European allies and Canada spent nearly 20% more on core defense than they had the year before. Looking at 2025 and 2026 combined, that's $258 billion in extra investments. And the trend continues.
President Trump got the 5% last year in The Hague, which powers us forward.
He said, "You did it, sir, you did it."
I don't know of any American president in the modern era that could have made this possible.
And what we accomplished last year in The Hague now has to turn into real capabilities. The United States is leading the way, and we expect others to follow us and follow our lead.
And no other president is going to do what I'm doing.
Ultimately, the summit for NATO is going to be the first report card after last year's meeting in The Hague. The United States will be here, but we also need our allies to be here. We cannot do it alone, and the American taxpayer should no longer bear the burden. You're watching history, so buckle up.
And that's what we'll be seeing here shortly. President Trump there, of course, in Turkey, NATO Summit for 2 days. We'll be getting to more live footage. As soon as we see some pop up on our screen, we'll go right to it. That's about 18 minutes from now. In other news, as I mentioned earlier, the RNC Midterm National Convention will be held on September 9th and 10th in Dallas at the American Airlines Center, of course, where the Dallas Stars play, the Mavs. So that's where that will be coming up in just a couple months. So, of course, that'll be some huge coverage here on Right Side Broadcasting Network and in conservative media as a whole. We're going to get into some more details about this NATO summit in just a little bit. Let's get into some of our great sponsors first. MyPillow.com/RSBN. You see the great Mike Lindell there, of course. And there's so many products, as you guys know, that are on MyPillow.com. You're talking the pillows, the sheets, the mattress toppers, the dog beds, the coffee. The list goes on. So just check it out, mypillow.com/RSBN. That's the spot to go for some great products. And of course, you're indirectly pouring any dollars into a conservative business and with Right Side Broadcasting Network, conservative media. So not only getting great products, but also kind of a conservative investment instead of towards woke companies, that kind of thing. MyPillow.com/RSBN. If you'd like to donate to Right Side, all you have to do is go to RSBNetwork.com/donate. RSBNetwork.com/donate. Thanks so much for donating to the network over the years. Now more than 10 years in business here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, as we've seen President Trump from coast to coast and around the world, as we've covered so many rallies, so many events right here on Right Side, including, of course, July 4th, and then even on July 3rd in Mount Rushmore, outside of Rapid City, South Dakota. More than 1 million, maybe even 2 million viewers, of course, watching that. Great to see that as we are, growing, and ideally, more and more people will be telling their friends and family about the network, because at the end of the day, we're showing you from wall to wall the full speeches still to this day. And if you don't see it live right here on the program, you'll be able to see it uploaded. That's something that our crew, regardless of what time it is, we see the president go live. That is 9 times, if not 10 times out of 10, uploaded for you to see. And speaking of that, let's go to a quick replay of just a few minutes ago, President Trump arriving this morning to Turkey. Let's go to clip 8. All right, so that happened moments ago, and we will have some more live coverage from Turkey in just a second. Now, the 2026 NATO Summit, again, is being hosted by Turkey in Ankara today, July 7th, and then tomorrow, July 8th. Now, this is the second NATO Summit hosted by Turkey. The first was in Istanbul in 2004. This is the 36th overall NATO summit. It follows the 2025 summit in The Hague and takes place at the Bistep Presidential Complex, also known as just the Presidential Complex in Ankara. Some of the key details. The host, of course, is the Turkish President Erdogan. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte is chairing the summit. The participants are heads of state and government from all 32 NATO member states, plus key partners, of course, one of them, President Donald J. Trump for the United States of America. So the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has set 3 core priorities for the Ankara summit. 1, defense investment. 2, defense industry. And also they'll be discussing, of course, Ukraine. That's something that NATO discusses a lot. The summit will review progress since The Hague and set a roadmap for NATO's key objectives. So we're going to hear from President Trump and also the president of Turkey, Erdogan, in just a bit. At 8 o'clock Eastern, we're told the president participates in a state arrival ceremony and honor guard review. 15 minutes after that, the president participates in a bilateral meeting with President Erdogan of the Republic of Turkey. We'll have both of those events here live on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And we're also seeing in tomorrow's schedule that President Trump will be holding a press conference in Turkey tomorrow towards the end of the NATO Summit. So, of course, a lot of coverage wall-to-wall here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Now, let's do this. President Trump spoke about a number of things recently here domestically. Let's go to one of President Trump's Truth Social posts, clip number 3. Referring to a Politico article a few days ago, President Trump had this to say on Truth Social: Republicans, look what I just found. The Democrats are openly stating that they plan to terminate the filibuster if they ever take power and expand the Supreme Court. In other words, the president says they will add 2 radical left states, I believe that's D.C. and Puerto Rico, 4 Democrat senators, many congressmen and women, their dream of 21 Supreme Court justices, not just 13, an unlucky number, President Trump says here. Continuing his post by saying an impossible to beat number of electoral college votes, and he says in parentheses, and that's the ball game. Popular vote landslides and so much else. The Republican Party will never win another election, the president says. And when he said popular vote landslides, it was in quotations or quotes. How much longer are you going to allow this to happen to you? This is President Trump speaking to the congressional Republicans. They will terminate the filibuster, the Democrats, the president's talking about, in their first hour, and I'll be sitting home with tears in my eyes saying, I told you so. So that's from President Trump on Truth Social. I mean, that's something that would be great to see the Republicans do, terminate the filibuster, so you can get that simple majority, which we do have, and vote for things like the Save America Act and other items from President Trump's agenda. Unfortunately, we have, as President Trump says, the Democrats in there, and also some Republicans who are just not really supporting or being on the side of we the people. That's just facts. It's what we've seen, and we've seen President Trump talk about that as well on Truth Social. So that was referring to a Politico article just a few days ago where President Trump was talking about that specific post. So we'll get to some more on President Trump's Truth Social account. Last night at about, 8:30, 9:30, there were about 5 or 6 videos posted to his account. We're going to get to those in just a second. Let's first go to one of our sponsors as we await the president in Turkey. All right, also, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Of course, our friends at All Family Pharmacy are kicking off Independence Day or the whole holiday time frame with that biggest sale of the year. And if you've been thinking about getting prepared, you don't want to miss this. Until today, July 7th, today's the last day for this. Buy one, get one free on ivermectin capsules, mebendazole capsules, ivermectin cream, and hydroxychloroquine. This sale was a huge success last year, and they're making it even bigger this time by adding more products. All Family Pharmacy believes in medical freedom, patient choice, and giving Americans easier access to the medications they trust. So during this sale, whatever quantity you order of these select medications, they'll actually send you the same amount free. So if you order 60 capsules of ivermectin, you'll get 60 for free as well. So pretty cool sale going on right now. And the process is simple. Complete a quick online medical form. Then a licensed physician reviews your request and if appropriate provides a prescription. Then your medications are shipped straight to your door. So if you've been waiting for the right time to stock up and save, this is it. Sales like this only come around a few times a year. So just go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Today's the last day for this sale. Again, you can call 561-717-6794. Great sponsor here on Right Side. Let's go from one great to another. You can buy some gold and put some silver in your pocket. And some people are saying, well, things are expensive. I don't know if I can purchase gold right now. But one thing you can control is, which really doesn't cost you anything out of pocket, is diversifying your retirement savings if you have that. Birch Gold Group will help you convert an old 401k from a previous employer or an IRA into a physical IRA in gold. really something that's a hedge against inflation. And check this out. Right now, Birch Gold is going to give you a special America 250 1-ounce silver round for every $10,000 you purchase by July 10th. So we have about 3 days left on this deal. And think about this. 10 years ago, an ounce of gold was about $1,200. Today, it's around $4,500. Where will it be 10 years from now? Text Trump to 989898 to take advantage of free America 250 silver with qualifying purchase before July 10th. Again, text Trump to 989898 today. All right, so we were just talking about President Trump and Truth Social. We're going to go to some of those videos here in a second. Those of you just joining us, as soon as we see a live feed there in Turkey, we will go there. We see that it's getting ready. Of course, President Trump, as you see in the bottom of your screen, or at least the bottom right top part there, President Trump participates in the arrival ceremony and honor guard review. After that event, and it may stay live from there, at about 8:15, the president will have a bilateral meeting with President Erdogan of Turkey, as, again, Ankara is where the president is right now. That's where this 2026 NATO Summit is being held. That's today and tomorrow. We'll have coverage tomorrow as well. Let's go now, though, in the meantime, for this Trump on Truth video segment, clip number 4.
Today we come to the heartland of America to pay tribute to a man who embodied the heart and soul and fight and spirit of our country as much as anyone who ever lived. TR had transformed his country by the reach of his vision and by the force of his will into one of the greatest empires, ready to take its rightful place as the strongest and most respected nation anywhere in the world. The life of Theodore Roosevelt reminds us that Americans never give up. We don't give up. He never stopped, never quit, never surrendered. Theodore Roosevelt reminds us all that to be a great nation and to be a free nation, we must have courage. Without courage, you have nothing. He refused to accept failure, mediocrity, corruption, decay, or decline, and neither should we. As America turns 250 years old, we look at this remarkable man, and we recall that with effort, determination, and drive, there is nothing that Americans of competence cannot do.
It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred with dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
All right, some great videos there. We have one more that we're going to show you here in a second, of course, from July 4th, as President Trump spoke in front of how many people? I mean, there's a lot of people there. And then on top of that, of course, we saw the world's largest firework display. So we're going to go and look at a highlight video in just a minute. Of course, if you're just joining us now, of course, we've been talking about the NATO Summit and also President Trump's trip to Turkey for a 2-day state visit. On top of that, of course, we're looking at the 24/7 news cycle as well. So we're approaching 8 o'clock on the East Coast. So President Trump participates in a state arrival ceremony and honor guard review in about, I would say, 60 seconds from now. If it's slightly delayed, of course, we'll stand by and wait for that to happen. And then at around 8:15, the president will participate in a bilateral meeting with President Erdogan of the Republic of Turkey. In the meantime, at 8:45 Eastern Time, whether that's live or recorded, Dennis Price of the Heroes for Humanity will join us. A great story there coming up in just a little bit. So in the meantime, let's go to July 4th's highlights from President Trump's speech. Let's take a look at clip number 7 as we await the president live in Turkey.
Tonight we come together for one of the most joyous and glorious milestones of all time. For 2.5 centuries, our American Republic has stood as the crowning achievement of human history. This country is the home of freedom. This is the land of liberty. And this is a flag that's the banner of the most extraordinary, most exceptional, most incredible nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. No people have done more good, shown more courage, made more progress, righted more injustice, or achieved more greatness than you, the American people. We have thrived and flourished because our founders were great, our cause was just, our people are brave, our culture is exceptional, and our destiny is written by God. After 250 years, the spirit of 1776 still lives within us all, still burns in the heart of every patriot, and still lights the entire world with the glow of American liberty. This is only the dawn of the golden age of America. And tonight our country is stronger, freer, richer, safer, and prouder than ever before.
A lot of people watched right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. What a day that was on July 4th. Of course, Robert McNeely and some other colleagues there live. And then the day before, and Mount Rushmore out there at Rapid City, outside of Rapid City, South Dakota. Of course, RSBN's Megan Colder with that live coverage. So a lot of great interviews and just really got a lot of inside baseball stuff that the mainstream media, they're not going to take time to just show you around the whole place. I mean, we have some time to do that here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, so it's great to see that happen. And watching that highlight video makes me think about September 9th and 10th as the RNC Midterm National Convention will be held in Dallas at the American Airlines Center. So we'll have coverage, of course, of that. And that's going to be here before you know it. I mean, July, August, the dog days of summer are upon us. Speaking of that, as we await this live feed, let's go and talk about this next product. I want to take a minute to speak to all of the parents watching today. It's officially the dog days of summer, and if your house is anything like ours used to be, that means the dog sprawls out on the coolest tile floor that he or she could find, refusing to move for anyone. It seems our dogs tend to run the house, and honestly, we wouldn't have it any other way. Well, here's a fun fact. Our founding fathers were the exact same way. Turns out long before they were founding a nation, they were the original dog people, tails wagging in the halls of Mount Vernon and Monticello, muddy paw prints on important documents, probably. Our founders loved their dogs every bit as much as we love ours today. So with America's 250th birthday, what better way to get kids excited about history than through the goofy, loyal, tail-wagging companions who were there for it all. Our friends at the Kids Guide have put together a great guide called The Kids Guide to the Founders' Furry Friends, giving kids a fun and heartwarming look at the dogs who stood and sat and probably begged for scraps beside our nation's founders. It's the perfect keepsake souvenir for kids, and they're giving it away for free at freeusadoggift.com. Plus, when you request your copy, they're also giving you a second free guide called The Kids Guide to the Founder's Message for Today. Really a must-read for every child. So, during these dog days of summer, head on over to freeusadoggift.com right now to get these free guides for your family and help celebrate America's 250th birthday the right way. And as Ambassador Carla Sands so rightly put it yesterday, you know, this is a celebration of the entire year. This is still the 250th year of our existence here in the United States. So great to see that. Let's go to Tax Network USA as well. If you have any back taxes, this is the place to go. 877-479-6503, tnusa.com/RSBN. Maybe you filed every year, but you still keep owing, or you might have retired and suddenly you got hit with a tax bill that you didn't expect. However your tax issues started, the outcome unfortunately is the same. Your balance is not going down, and then the penalties are growing, interest compounds, and then a number of people still have those back taxes, that kind of thing to work on. So if you'd like, just give them a call here. They'll get you back on track, give you that financial peace of mind, because the IRS, they're not going to wait. They're enforcing collections through wage garnishments, bank levies, and property seizures. They can even file for you without your consent. And this is really where Tax Network USA comes in. With more than 15 years in business, there really hasn't been a tax case they haven't seen or resolved. They really specialize in tax controversies and help taxpayers nationwide get back on track by resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. And whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their team has resolved more than $1 billion in tax debt. They can do the same for you, but you have to just give them a call. They are offering this free investigation call with the IRS. After that investigation, they put a clear case plan in place to resolve your tax problem and get you back on track. So this is really about using your legal rights to take control before the government sets the terms for you. So don't wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account. Just give them a call, 877-479-6503, or go to tnusa.com/RSBN. All right, we're 6 minutes after the hour, still awaiting the president here with the president of Turkey, Erdogan. We're going to see here in just a minute this state arrival ceremony and honor guard review. And then following that, the president will participate in that bilateral meeting with the president of Turkey. This is all the intro to the NATO Summit, which is being held in Ankara there in Turkey. So we'll be going to that here shortly. Let's do this. At this point, I believe we have a number of videos to get to, including, let's get back into President Trump from just yesterday. He was at that Rose Garden lunch. We were playing some of that clip. We're going to dip back into that as we check out some news headlines. Actually, yeah, that's it right there. Let's go to it.
I said, we have to come up with a good name for you, Charles. Maybe Charles the Conqueror. No, please. But William the Conqueror built a great building. But we are building one that's going to top them all, and it's going to be beautiful. It's gotten great architectural reviews. And more importantly, it got great military. We're doing it in conjunction with the military and the generals. And these are smart, brilliant generals that know exactly what they're doing, what they want. I'm giving them everything they want. And it's really a national security must. But I want to welcome you to the Rose Garden, and today's a historic day as we begin America's 250th year. We're launching what's called the Trump account. You've been hearing about it. And this was something that was made possible because of the great, big, beautiful bill. Otherwise, you couldn't do it. We got it approved. Ted Cruz is here, and he helped us a lot. And I want to thank you, Ted, and to ensure that every American child is born with a head start and a fair shot at the American dream, because by the time they're 18, they could have a lot of money. They go up with the market. Think what would have happened if we invested $1,000 in an account, even Brad and Mike, Susan, if we invested $1,000 in an account a year ago. It's like would have doubled. And because the market, we're riding the hottest stock market in history. 81 days, I've been here 1.5 years. Think of it, 81 days we hit record highs, including today. A lot of you Wall Street guys, I see Larry and I see some of the biggest guys in Wall Street, David, Goldman Sachs, Blackstone, BlackRock, they're all here. And think of it, I'm making them all geniuses. Every one of them is a genius. Is anybody doing poorly? If you are, I guess you have a couple of guys that went short. Those poor bastards, I mean, they're in big trouble. They're being wiped out, the short guys. I never like short guys because they're betting against the country, so that's okay. But earlier this morning, many of you joined me in the Oval Office for the ringing of the opening bell, and something happened that was incredible. Never happened before. We had the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ, the top of both. These are great people, but they never did a bell and opening together. This is the first time. There's the bell right there, and I said it's so beautiful. I'm not giving it back. I don't know if it's supposed to go back, but they're going to have to fight like hell to get it back. We're not giving it back. Do you understand that, Scott? Don't let it leave. It's so beautiful. But that's the bell we rang, and that's where the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ came together, the leadership, brilliant people. And the first time ever, we did it together. It was an opening where we did it together. That's in honor of the Trump accounts, because we're going to make young children born with no money in many cases rich. I think they're going to be rich. But I want to thank Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent, Chairman of the SEC. These are really tremendous people. Paul Atkins. Scott, stand up. And Paul, please stand up. Thank you very much. Director of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett, who's so great. Everybody loves him. Stand up, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Governors Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who worked here very diligently and brilliantly as my press secretary. She did a great job. Thank you very much, Sarah, wherever you may be. Thank you. Governor Jeff Landry, who called me, he says, you know, we have a crime problem, and they had the Mardi Gras, and he said, could you we want to get rid of the crime, do something, because we have a little bit of a Mardi Gras coming, and we have a little bit of a crime problem. And I think you say it was the safest, where's Jeff? The safest that they've ever had. Is that right? Right? In New Orleans, he said it was the best they ever had, the safest. And the city crime is down 81%. I wish Chicago would call me. If Chicago would call me, I would wipe out crime so fast, would remove the hardcore criminals like I did in Washington, D.C., in Memphis, and in New Orleans. We were not just a question of, you know, we're going to have big, strong soldiers. That's the least, well, it's very important. But we removed in your place, you know, 2,900 career criminals. Many of them came through the Biden administration's stupid open border policy. They poured in. And I just want to give a little extra thing. Thanks a lot, Jeff. You're doing a fantastic job. And I'm glad you called, but he called me up 2 days ago, and he said, we just had the lowest crime numbers we've had in 50 years, 5-0. And we haven't even finished the job, but they're down like 87, 85%. You'll be down to 90, 95%. But we removed the criminals. We took them out. We're not letting them stay because they're criminals, and they'll... You know, a great stat that I love, 91% of the crime in cities is caused by 2% of the people. I love that because you can handle that. You can get rid of the 2%. If it was caused by 91%, you got a problem. But 91% of the crime in Washington, D.C., as an example, was caused by 2.1% of the population. These are many career criminals, sick people, mental problems, but 2.1% in the case of Washington. And we removed from Washington, D.C., 4,212 people, permanently removed. Many of them were brought back to their countries. Some were put in jail. Many were wanted. We had murderers. So we've taken Washington, D.C. crime, we brought it down 91%. And it's considered now one of the safest. We're going to do better than the 91 because 9% is even too much. But we're going to bring it back to almost nothing. The only thing we have a hard time stopping is the crime of passion. Do you know what that is, anybody? Was anybody in? This is a group that probably knows something about crimes of passion. But the crimes of passion we can't do much about. It's just one of those things. But we have Washington is way down. We worked well with the mayor's office. The National Guard and our military was unbelievable. And in Washington, restaurants were closing. Nobody wanted to eat at restaurants. It was a disaster. When I first came, it was they were losing 3 people a week to murder. Can you imagine? 150 people. And I said, wow. And we really put it into gear. And now we don't have murders. I mean, you have, I guess, but not much. And people are safe. And restaurants are thriving. You can't get, if you're an entrepreneur or restaurateur, you can't get a restaurant. There's nothing available. The restaurants are packed. They used to go in and rob the restaurants. you know, they wouldn't, you'd feel safe in a restaurant. It was like the old Wild West. They'd say, stick 'em up, give me your money. The whole restaurant is handing them money. And now if that ever happened, those people would be in deep trouble, deep. We hit them very hard. And we have tremendous military people involved, and they do the trick. And that's what happened with Jeff, with Louisiana. That's what's happened with Memphis, Tennessee, where the governor also called me. He said, FedEx was going to move, and now they called me the other day. They said, you've made it a safe city. I've never seen, people have never seen anything like it. Washington, D.C., every day somebody says thank you. I know immediately what they're saying. Young women that walk to work at White House, they used to take Uber, and they felt unsafe because the Uber car was robbed. And dangerous, they'd shoot people. That doesn't happen anymore. The girls are working to work, and the young guys are walking to work, and the older guys, if they can walk, they walk. Half of them can't walk because they made too much money. A lot of these guys here, they can't walk, but they're rich as hell. But it's such a tribute, and I just wish that I'd get a call from the governor of Illinois, as an example, or the mayor of Chicago. Sir, they've had a horrible 3 weeks, by the way. Many people shot, many people killed, and they just don't want to call. They have to call. All they have to do is say, sir, we need help. I'll straighten it out so fast. San Francisco, I wish they'd call. You know, you have a mayor there who's a Democrat, but he's a good person. He's trying hard. But I told a couple of the very rich people living in San Francisco, they wanted me to give him a chance. And I said, all right, I'll give him a chance. But he can't do the job because he can't remove people like us. We have the law on our side. We can remove murderers. You know, under the Biden open border policy, 11,888 murders were allowed into our country. They're living in a place near you, but I've gotten rid of most of them. Have been either removed or we put them in jail. We've caught most of them. But they came in through an open border. They came in through prisons, mental institutions, drug dealers. You have no idea the drug dealers that came in under Biden. Open border. Nobody checked. They just walk in. And you could look at some of them. You could say, this is trouble. And they'd walk into our country. We remove them. And I wish Los Angeles, I wish Gavin Newsom would call me. I wish Governor Pritzker would call me. I wish the governor of New York would call me. They have tremendous crime, and all of them. And they would go just like Washington. We have the men. We have unlimited number of great men. You know, one of the many things we got was from the Supreme Court of the United States. You know, we went against merit. Merit had no place in our country.
And the president talking about a number of those governors from those blue states. It would be great to see the National Guard in various cities across this land. We already see it in D.C. We see the gain of safety, security there with the National Guard. Again, from the right side of history, that angle, not from some tyrannical, dictator type saying, we're going to make the military come into your city. It's not like that. It's simply to cut down on the crime that's happening. Unfortunately, as you guys remember, back in the Biden era, there was how many millions of illegal immigrants, illegal aliens just pouring into the country. So we have to secure our border, which already has happened thanks to President Trump, but also really the National Guard to really help with those that are here, and whether they're illegal or not, just crime being cut down. We're seeing that in D.C. We're seeing that in Memphis, Tennessee, and it would be great to see that in LA, Chicago, and the list goes on. But of course, the blue towns, they kind of like all the chaos, don't they? Unfortunately, it's awful to see that. We're going to get to a couple things here, including those of you on the live chat right now, please listen up. Those on the live chat on this Tuesday morning, I have a question for you, and we're going to get right to your answers in a second. So we know that Carolyn Leavitt, the White House press secretary, just back from maternity leave. My question is, when do you think the first press conference will be held there at the White House by Carolyn since she has returned from maternity? Of course, we know that she's been on the air in various forms and fashions on networks and posting online, but when will be the first press briefing Go ahead and give a guess. Will it be Thursday of this week, Friday next week? Go ahead and share some thoughts about that, and we'll get to your answers here in a second. Let's go to a few of our sponsors in the meantime as we await President Trump there in Turkey for this NATO summit. You see Kalshi right there, kalshi.com/RSBN. And that would be actually a great question to add to Kalshi if you'd like. When will Carolyn Leavitt return to that press podium there in the White House? Will it be this week, next week? Who knows? Anyway, let's go with kalshi.com/RSBN. You know, you can download the app. You can go to that website. You can use the QR code, which we don't see. There it is. Yeah, it's right there. So there's 3 ways to get to Kalshi. And again, there's a ton of topics that are trending right now on Kalshi. More than 1 million users on the site. That number growing by leaps and bounds, as they say. Let's go to our next sponsor here on right side, including Cove Pure. Of course, we just celebrated our 250th birthday, and 250 years later, guess what? We're still drinking whatever the government decided to put in our water. Gross. Fluoride for your teeth or chlorine to keep things clean. Well, it's really not a decision someone else should be making for your family. So that's why this product right here gets rid of a lot of the contaminants, 99.9% of them. It's a great filter and a great filtration system. Do you know that more than 209 million Americans are on this fluoridated water right now? If you drink tap water, or if you're maybe at a restaurant and they serve you tap, awful. Here's what the science actually shows. A recent study confirmed that fluoride exposure is actually linked to lower IQ scores in children, and that's not really just a fringe study. That's from JAMA Pediatrics, one of the most respected medical journals in the world. So what about the chlorine as well in the water? That isn't even the worst part. It's what happens when it reacts with natural particles in the water from plants and soil. We're told it creates this chemical byproduct called THMs, which the government itself calls probable human carcinogens, linked to disruption of your gut and also cancer. Sure, states are moving on this. Utah and Florida ban fluoride, but that process takes years. Your kids, your family, they're drinking this water today. Hopefully not, but that's really what comes out of the tap, right? You need something that works and works now, and that's exactly what Cove Pure is. They're certified to remove, as I mentioned earlier, up to 99.9% of contaminants, the fluoride, the THMs, the pharmaceuticals, PFAs. Really anything that isn't water gets filtered out. And then also, it looks great. You see there on screen. If you're thinking this is some complex home system that you're going to have to drill holes and install on the counter there, it's not. It just plugs right in and makes your water taste great, and it's healthy water without that awful aftertaste. And the best part is it gives you whatever temperature water you want, hot, cold, or warm, with a tap of a button. So don't wait for the government to catch up. Take back control of your water. And in honor of America's 250th, Cove Pure is giving you guys $250 off if you use the link, covepure.com/RSBN. Worth the price, worth the investment. Check it all out, covepure.com/RSBN. Healthy, good tasting drinking water. That is good stuff right there on Right Side Broadcasting Network. As we are 22 minutes after the hour, we're seeing right there President Trump will participate in a state arrival ceremony and honor guard review. This in Ankara, Turkey, because it's the NATO summit being held there today and tomorrow. After that review there, the president will then participate in a bilateral meeting, so just having a meeting with the president of Turkey, Erdogan. Of course, that will be happening in just a little bit. And coming up, we'll have a live interview. If we're at the event in Turkey, we'll record this interview with the founder of Heroes for Humanity. Dennis Price will join us to talk to us about the tragedy in Venezuela. Did you guys see that earthquake? You know, we know that there are earthquakes every day that happen across the earth. I was looking the other day after I saw the Venezuela earthquake information and the geological survey. It said that day alone there were 33 earthquakes throughout the earth. So every day there's some smaller ones, but one of the days there was like 3 or 4 that were just sizable earthquakes, including in Venezuela, where thousands of people have lost their lives there in Venezuela. So we'll be talking with the founder of Heroes for Humanity, Dennis Price, about that. Let's go to the president right now in Turkey.
Asker. Nasılsınız? Sizler de sağ olun.
Sağ duruş. Döner at. Noktası. Selam. Dur. Dikkat. Görüşürüz hazır bırakın.
Merhaba, Ashgar.
Görev bitmiş gerekçeler. Dur!
Now those are a set of doors. Did you see that? Holy smokes. Now what we're going to see here next is the President Donald Trump, of course, meeting with President Erdogan there of Turkey in a bilateral meeting. So we still have another live feed to get to there in Ankara. Of course, the President there for this 2-day state visit in Turkey for the NATO Summit, 32 NATO leaders, including President Trump there. We'll have all of that coverage as we see it. We also know tomorrow there's a lot of coverage as well, including President Trump holding a press conference in Ankara. So we'll have that here on Right Side Broadcasting Network as we await that live feed to the bilateral meeting, which should start any minute from now, according to the schedule from the White House. Let's go to a couple of our sponsors in the meantime, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, as you guys see there. Now, specifically, this buy one, get one free sale ends today. So if you want to get some medications or just get prepared for just in case anyone gets sick, our friends at All Family Pharmacy are kicking off the whole Independence Day holiday time frame with their biggest sale of the year. And if you've been thinking about getting prepared, you don't want to miss this, because until July 7th, of course, today, they're offering the buy one, get one free on ivermectin capsules, mebendazole capsules, ivermectin cream, and hydroxychloroquine. So we're told that this sale was a huge success last year, and they're making it even bigger this time by adding more products. All Family Pharmacy believes in medical freedom, patient choice, and giving Americans easier access to the medications they trust. During this sale, whatever quantity you order of these select medications, they'll send you the same amount free. So if you order 60 ivermectin capsules, they're going to give you 60 more on top of that. So you're paying for 60, you'll get 120. The process is simple. You complete a quick online medical form, a licensed physician reviews your request, and if appropriate, provides a prescription. Then your medications are shipped straight to your door. So if you've been waiting for the right time to stock up and save, this is it. Sales like this only come around a few times a year. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Today's the last day again to take advantage of the buy one, get one free sale. You can also call that number you see on the screen there, 561-717-6794. If you have any questions about the various medications, there are people standing by ready to talk to you, including pharmacists and all of that. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Let's go to one more sponsor here. As you see, Birch Gold Group, buy gold and put some silver in your pocket. But the problem is, a number of people are saying, well, I can't afford gold right now. I mean, gold is very expensive right now. How are you going to purchase that? Well, one thing you can control right now that doesn't cost you anything out of pocket is if you have a retirement savings, you can diversify. Birch Gold Group will help you convert an old 401k from a previous employer or an IRA into a physical IRA in gold. Really something that's a hedge against inflation. And check this out, right now Birch Gold is going to give you a special America 250 1-ounce silver round for every $10,000 you purchase by July 10th. So think about this, 10 years ago, an ounce of gold was about $1,200. Today, it's around $4,500. And where will it be 10 years from now? All you have to do is text Trump to 989898 to take advantage of free America 250 silver with qualifying purchase. Again, this is before July 10th. Again, text Trump to that number, 989898 today. All right, we are 21 minutes or so away from the top of the hour, 22 minutes from the top of the hour. We're going to see the president once again in that meeting in Turkey as they get ready to join with a number of other NATO leaders as the NATO Summit is kicking off today in Ankara and then tomorrow as well. So we'll have more coverage tomorrow. And a shout out to those of you that watched our coverage on July 3rd and July 4th. A whole ton of people watched RSBN during those huge events. So thank you so much for doing so. And please pass along this link to your friends and family as you'll see, of course, coverage wall to wall here with President Trump there in Turkey for this NATO summit. And speaking of NATO, there are various videos that are out there about the Ankara, Turkey hosting this NATO summit. So this is the second time it's happened in Turkey. The first time was back in 2004 in Istanbul. This time, 2026 in Ankara. Let's go to clip number 6.
Hi, welcome to Ankara, the heart of Turkey.
Where history, culture, diplomacy, and a strong defense industry meet.
Located at the crossroads of Europe, Asia, and Africa, regulating navigation through the Turkish Straits from the Mediterranean to the Black Sea, Turkey occupies a unique position in global security, trade, and connectivity.
Ankara, once home to many ancient Anatolian civilizations, now hosts impressive museums, prestigious universities, as well as the mausoleum of Atatürk, the founder of the Republic of Turkey. Atatürk chose Ankara as the capital for its central and strategic location.
Feeling hungry? As you explore the city, you should try the famous Ankara simit, a delicious, thin and crispy bread, perfect to eat on the go.
But Ankara is much more than iconic street food and remarkable history. The city is home to Turkey's largest defense industry companies and serves as a major hub for military engineering and advanced technology. Turkey joined NATO in 1952 and has played an active role in the alliance ever since.
Turkey has contributed significantly to NATO's collective defense, including with the second largest army in the alliance. And this year's NATO Summit will take place right here at the presidential compound in Ankara.
Ankara'ya hoş geldiniz. Welcome to Ankara.
We are meeting here in Ankara 1 year after NATO leaders gathered for our summit in The Hague. Their allies made historic commitments. They agreed on the urgency of making our alliance stronger because of the dangerous world we face. They committed to invest 5% of GDP in defense by 2035. And now.
All right, so coming back here live to the studio as we are hearing that the live feed is happening right now in Turkey. Let's go there now.
Öncelikle NATO Liderler Zirvesi'nde değerli dostumla Ankara'da bir arada olmak bizlere ayrı bir güç katmıştır. Kendilerine hoş geldiniz diyorum.
Here, on the occasion of the NATO Summit, I would like to welcome my valuable friend, Mr. President Trump, who has participated here today with us and added strength to the summit that we are convening for.
Ve bu ziyaretin ne kadar önemli olduğunu özellikle ifade etmek istiyorum.
And I would like to express how important this summit is that we are here gathering for.
NATO Liderler Zirvesi'nin bugün Ankara'da yapılıyor olması ve tüm liderlerin şu anda ülkemizde bir araya gelmesi, yarın değerli dostum Sayın Trump'la birlikte olması bizlere ayrı bir güç katacaktır.
The fact that we are convening here today for the NATO Ankara Summit and that all the leaders are arriving and have arrived, and we will be executing the NATO Summit tomorrow with the presence of President Trump, which will be adding might and strength to our summit.
Kendilerine tekrar hoş geldiniz diyorum.
Once again, I would like to say welcome, Mr. President.
Well, I want to thank you very much. As everybody knows, it's been very much reported. We are great friends. The President has done an incredible job. Just landing at the airport to see such a beautiful airport and to have a building named after me. I was very happy about that. That was very nice. The airport is absolutely beautiful. The roads coming in were brand new and beautiful. And you've been a great leader and a respected leader all over the world. And we really do. We've had right from the beginning good chemistry. We've had a very special relationship. Turkey has become, under the president, a very powerful country militarily. People don't know how powerful, actually. And they have a lot of our equipment. And they have a lot of great soldiers. And They're really somebody to be reckoned with, and the nice part is that because of the relationship that we have, it's all gone very well. I just want to say that I have a lot of respect for the president, and I think it's really to the benefit of both countries. We're going to be talking today about trade. We're going to be talking about other things having to do with the military, lots of different things. Probably we'll mention Iran, where we have essentially decimated their military. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. And we're going to have some very good discussions. But we do a lot of trade with Turkey. We make great things and they make great things, and we've had it's had a very big impact on both of our countries. So I just want to tell you that it's an honor to be with you, and we're going to have a lot of good meetings. We're going to have good dinners, good food. We're going to have a good time, but mostly we're going to have a lot of work, and we're going to do good things for our countries. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanım, tamamına kadar geldiğiniz çok teşekkür ediyoruz. Sen çok uzun süren bir dostluğumuz var biliyorsunuz. Son derece saygı duyduğum, yakın bulduğum bir insansınız. Buradaki buluşmalarımızda, görüşmelerimizde 3 konudan bahsedeceğiz. Askeri, ticari ve bir de İran konusundan bahsedeceğiz. Gerçekten çok güçlüsünüz. Çok güçlü askeri ve silah sanayi açısından çok güçlü bir yerisiniz şu anda. Dolayısıyla teşekkür ediyorum ve çok iyi bir vakit geçirdiğine inanıyorum.
Thank you.
Mr. President, are you going to sell F-35s to Turkey, and what about the legal restrictions?
It's a decision we're going to make. We have a very good relationship. I would think that many people, I can tell you, many people, including the people sitting right here, thinks, why wouldn't we do that? We have a better relationship with Turkey, and Turkey's been in many ways much more loyal than other countries that we think would be loyal. So, yeah, something certainly we would consider. It's a great plane. It's the best, currently the best plane by far. And it's certainly something we will consider, yeah.
Mr. President, sir.
On the S-400.
Yes, Danny?
Mr. President, sir, you said, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, that President Erdogan was a big reason you wanted to come to the summit here. What has made your relationship with him so special, in your own words, and what do you broadly hope to achieve here at the summit?
You never know why a relationship is special. Some people you get along with, and some people you don't. Sometimes you get along with the toughest people, like him, and sometimes you don't get along with the weakest, most pathetic people. You just don't get along. Maybe you don't respect them, but from the day we met, we got along. We had a pastor, so I remember his name was Pastor Brunson, and it was a very big thing, and it was very traumatic. He was sentenced to a long-term prison sentence, and I felt he was innocent, and I called, other people called, they got nowhere. I called the president, and he released him immediately. It was something that the evangelical community will never forget. And he was a good man, Pastor Brunson. So, just things like that, we just it's always worked out. And I think it's been from the very beginning, from the first moment. This just, I said it before, it's a chemistry that works between us. There were those that I don't have a good chemistry with, I will tell you that. And we worked that out too.
Mr. President, are further troop drawdowns in Europe likely? Are you likely to announce further troop drawdowns in Europe?
Say it?
Are further troop drawdowns in Europe likely? And are you satisfied with the progress that NATO allies have made?
Well, we're going to see. I was very disappointed with NATO. And frankly, if it weren't held in Turkey, where my friend happens to be a very strong leader, a very strong person, it's possible that I wouldn't have attended. I felt I had to attend because of the fact that, I know he's gone all out. It was a big thing to have NATO come to Turkey or any place else. It's a big thing. But we weren't treated well because we did something in Iran. We don't need anybody's help. I didn't even want the help. But before I asked, they said they wouldn't be there. And we've invested trillions of dollars in NATO. Why? To protect European countries and others, Canada, etc., but to protect people countries from, generally speaking, it used to be the Soviet Union, now it's Russia. And I say that's fine, but you would think that they'd be very willing to do something to help us. And they really weren't. In the case of the United Kingdom, the Prime Minister, I guess he's no longer there, maybe because of this. It was a very unpopular thing he did. He said, no, we'll help after the war is over. I said, I don't need that kind of help. We didn't need any help at all. And in a way, I was testing people. I was testing to see whether or not they'd be there, because I've long said that we helped them, but I'm not sure that they'd be there for us. And Italy turned us down, and Germany turned us down, and France turned us down. And it's okay. But, you know, why are we spending hundreds of billions of dollars and they're not there for us? We've always been there for them.
Türkiye ile Suriye arasında Türkiye'de...
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanım, bir saniye. Habertürk TV Karaca, efendim, İran'daki savaşın sona erdirilmesi için oldukça çaba sarf ettiniz. Müzakere süreci devam ediyor ancak nihai bir anlaşma noktasına gelinmiş değil. Bundan sonraki süreçte Türkiye nasıl adım atacak İran ve ABD arasındaki müzakere sürecinin olumlu bir şekilde neticelenmesi için?
Bu süreçte yine aynı şekilde bizler İran-Amerika ilişkilerini nasıl bir düzleme kavuştururuz? Onun gayreti içerisindeyiz. Elimizden geleni yapmak suretiyle dünya barışına bir adım atalım diye gerek şahsım, gerek arkadaşlarım hep birlikte çalışıyoruz.
Gazze'ye sormak isterim ben sizlere. 80 bine yakın insan hayatını kaybetti Gazze'de. Çok büyük bir yıkım var. Ateşkes sağlandı ama yer yer ihlaller devam ediyor. Ateşkes ihlallerinin önlenmesi için, insani yardımların Gazze'ye girebilmesi için, ayrıca Gazze'nin yeniden inşa edilebilmesi için önümüzdeki süreçte ortak atabileceğiniz adımları değerlendirecek misiniz muhatabınızla? Müsaade buyururlarsa kendisinin de bu konudaki fikirlerini almak isteriz. Teşekkür ederiz efendim.
Özellikle Gazze konusunda tabii değerli dostumla bunları da konuşarak özellikle bu bölgedeki barışı sağlama için bu liderler zirvesini çok önemsiyoruz ve bu liderler zirvesinden aynı şekilde bir kararın çıkmasını da hayra yorumluyoruz ve bunun olabileceğine de ben ihtimal veriyorum.
Efendim, Türkiye-ABD ilişkilerinin geliştiği bir dönemi gözlemliyoruz. 2025 yılında geçen yıl Amerika Birleşik Devletleri'ne yaptığımız ziyarette önemli ticari anlaşmalar da imzalandı. Suriye konusunda Türkiye'nin önemli bir aktör olduğunu söylemişti Sayın ABD Başkanı. Şimdi yeni dönemde gelmeden önce de Sayın Trump bir sürprizle geliyorum ifadesini kullandı. F-35'i, Kaan savaş uçaklarının motorlarını konuştuk. Acaba gündeme gelebilir mi şeklinde. Siz bu sürprizin ne olduğunu düşünüyorsunuz? Türkiye bugünkü görüşmelerden sonra istediğini alabilecek mi? Teşekkür ederim.
Tabii F-35 konusu biliyorsunuz bizim için yeni bir konu değil. Ve bunu bizler Amerika ile daha önce de görüştük. Ve biz 5 uçağı da sözünü aldık ve Sayın Trump'ın bu konuda bize ayrıca sözü var ve şimdi de bu liderler zirvesinde yapacağımız görüşmelerde F-35 ile ilgili kendilerinden bu daha önce aldığımız sözün ben geleceğe yönelik olumlu şekilde test ettiğimizi biliyorum ve bu konuda da Sayın Trump her zaman sözünün arkasındadır. Burada yine inşallah F-35 konusunda bu liderler zirvesinden hayırlı bir karar çıkacağına inanıyorum.
Going to be handed over to a third party as part of any deal with F-35s?
What does that mean?
Is it going to be handed over to a third party? Is that not part of the deal?
Third party? What is the third? With respect to what?
There's our concerns about the Russian missile defense system. Do you have those concerns about this system? Are they going to have to?
No concerns at all about anything. I mean, he's a leader of a country that he's made a much better country, a much more powerful country, and you see it. I mean, it's beautiful. You get off the roads of your life. It's an amazing thing. Now, I have no concerns about anything having to do with Turkey. The relationship, I would say the relationship with Turkey right now is better probably than it's ever been. It was good in my first 4 years, but I think now it's probably even better than that, if that's possible.
Mr.
President, so U.S. military and Turkish military constitute a really strong and large military base for NATO. Are we expecting further defense cooperation out of this bilateral meeting, out of this NATO summit here in Ankara?
Well, we're going to find out when I go there. We're going to find out. We're going to be having meetings. I'm very friendly with many of the leaders. Some of them are new. We don't know them. I've been doing this for now sort of a long time. If you count the 4 years when we had a rigged election, I was very much into politics then too. But I spent the first 4 years. I spent 4 years in a little different state, and then we've had an amazing, probably the best year maybe ever had by an American president. When you look at the economy, we have the greatest economy we've ever had. We have $19 trillion, $19.2 trillion to be exact, being invested in the United States. That's 7 or 8 times more than it's ever had. It's a world record, not just a U.S. record. And I just read where, in fact, coming over, I was in the car with those beautiful horses, those great riders, those great soldiers, and it came over the wires that Toyota is moving out of Mexico into the United States and building one of the biggest truck and car plants ever built. And it's amazing. That's what tariffs do, properly used. And so we've never had a more exceptional economy or potential economy. There's never been anything like it. Under the last administration, they did much less than $1 trillion of investment coming in. And we're at $19.2 trillion in actually the first 12 months, because that's where it's, really, so we're there a year and a half, so that number is now substantially higher. But 19.2 trillion, Scott, for a period of 12 months, nobody's ever seen anything like that. So we have by far the greatest economy. We have more jobs right now in the United States than ever before. And we have a great relationship with some countries on trade, and Turkey happens to be one of them.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanı, siz her fırsatta dünya 5'ten büyüktür, daha adil bir dünya mümkündür diyorsunuz. Bugün konuğumuz Sayın Trump, ABD Başkanı, onun da zaman zaman küresel sistemin mevcut durumuna ilişkin eleştirilerini biliyoruz. NATO'nun 2 en büyük askeri gücü olarak bu noktada, bu eleştiriler doğrultusunda ortak bir adım, ortak bir girişimde bulunması önümüzdeki süreçte söz konusu olabilir mi?
NATO'da 2 önemli ülke olarak gerek Amerika gerekse Türkiye, bizler bu liderler zirvesinden de dayanışma içerisinde güçlü bir çıkışı sağlayacağız ve bunu da başaracağımıza inanıyoruz.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanı, 24 muhabiri Yağmur Yıldız, Rusya-Ukrayna savaşı konusunda savaşın başından bu yana ara buluculuk tesis ettiğiniz iki ülkenin Dışişleri Bakanlarını Antalya Diplomasi Forumu'nda bir araya getirdiniz. İstanbul'da çok önemli müzakereler yürüttünüz. Bu zirve kapsamında da Sayın Trump'ın Sayın Zelenski ile görüştüğünü biliyoruz. Nihai aşama olarak hangi noktadayız? Savaşın sonlanması konusundaki Trump'la ilişkin değerlendirmenize teşekkürler.
Is that for me? Are you asking me, or are you asking the president?
No, the president, I don't think you.
The president.
Biz Rusya-Ukrayna arasındaki bu gelişmeleri de yine değerli dostumla burada paylaşacağız, görüşeceğiz ve ona göre de adımlarımızı atacağız.
Efendim, A Haber televizyon kanalından Hatice Kübra Bal, benim sorumda aslında az önce biraz yanıtladınız ama Türkiye'nin 5. nesil uçağı K motorları için F-110 motorlarından söz edeceğiz. Aynı zamanda kasa yaptırımları ve bu bağlamda da F-35 alımı ile ilgili aslında bu görüşmeden bir sonuç bekleyebilir miyiz? Onu merak ediyorum.
Ben bunu daha önce değerli dostumla görüştüm ve Kaan'la ilgili onun motorları noktasında bu liderler zirvesinde bu görüşmeyi değerli dostumla tekrar bir araya geldik. Onu görüşeceğiz ve inanıyorum ki bununla ilgili bize verdiği müjdeyi burada da tekrar edecektir ve bu müjdeyle de herhalde liderler zirvesinde kendisine teşekkür edeceğiz.
Turkey bought planes. It's the best plane, but they bought planes from the United States. And when you buy a plane from the United States, if there's engine rehab and other things that are done to engines, there's various things that happen, including just maintenance. I think we have an obligation to maintain engines and help them maintain engines. When you buy a plane from us, what are we going to say? You're buying a plane if the engine needs work or if the engine has to be rehabilitated or even upgraded somewhat, but I think we have an obligation to do it. What are you going to do? Say, I'm not going to do that? Look, Turkey's been, I know, a lot of people don't agree, although I think with time they're starting to agree. Turkey has been a great ally for us. Turkey could have gone on the side. They know Iran very well, and they know the problems with Iran. But they've been very instrumental, along with a couple of other countries, of helping. They could have gotten into the fight. And I hear some people saying about their relationship with Israel. They could have gotten into the fight. They're a very powerful military nation. They didn't do that. Maybe they didn't do that because of me. But they could have gotten into the fight on the other side. They are a nation that's been very, very good. And I can speak for myself as president. They've been extraordinary in many ways with respect to our relationship, including trying to end the war with Iran, or whatever you call it. It's not even a war, it's a military operation. It's a denuclearization. That's really what it is, of Iran, because I don't think he wants to see them have a nuclear weapon either. I'm pretty sure of that. In fact, I'm totally sure of that. So, but when they buy a product from us, whether it's a plane or anything else, when it's time for maintenance, I think don't we have an obligation to help them? What are we going to do? Say we're not going to let you use the product that you spent a lot of money in buying? And especially when it's been somebody that frankly has been more helpful to the United States than many other more traditional countries.
Mr. President, you will meet President Zelensky tomorrow. Sir, you will meet President Zelensky tomorrow. Should we expect a breakthrough soon? Where are we at Ukraine talks?
I had a very good talk with President Putin, who, by the way, has a lot of respect for him. President Erdogan, a lot of respect for him. We had a long talk yesterday. It lasted a long time. And I also spoke with President Zelensky right after that. I think they both want to make a deal. It's too bad it took so long, but I think there's going to be, something's going to come out, and the president's also helping us with that, but I think there's something, I settled 8 wars, and I think we're going to be settling a 9th. It doesn't seem likely now, but sometimes with war, I see when it's least likely, that's when it happens. I had a very good talk with President Putin. I had a very good talk with, I would say as a combination, a lot of times I'd do well with Putin and Zelensky would be a problem, or vice versa. Zelensky would be great, and Putin would be. They both want to get it settled now. More than that, that's all I do in my life is deals. I know deals. And I think I think we're going to get it settled. Hopefully soon. Last month, 35,000, mostly soldiers, died The month before that, it was 24,000. The month before that, it was 27,000. And the month before that, it was 29,000. But last month, it was 35,000 young soldiers, mostly soldiers, died. And that's crazy.
Sayın Cumhurbaşkanım, savunma sanayi işbirliklerinden bahsediyoruz ancak savunma sanayi işbirliğimizi sürdürebilmemiz için Amerika'nın katsayı yaptırımlarını da kaldırmış olması gerekiyor. Sayın Büyükelçi Barak burada, kendisinin bu konuda aslında mesajları da oldu geçtiğimiz aylarda. Sayın Başkanım da bu konuda olumlu düşündüğünü biliyoruz. Hem ticaret hacmi hedefine ulaşmak hem de NATO zirvesinde burada Sayın Trump gelmeden önce de açıkladılar. Aslında Türkiye'nin hakkıyla zirveye katıldığını da açıkladılar ama aynı zamanda katsayı yaptırımlarının Türkiye'ye uygulanıyor olmasında bir tezat olduğu düşünülüyor. Bu noktada, bu görüşmede artık somut bir netice alınabilir mi? Ayrıca siz bunu gündeme taşıyacaksınızdır. Muhtemelen Sayın Başkan'ın da bu konudaki düşüncelerini alabilirsem mutlu olurum. Teşekkür ediyorum.
I can tell you, we're going to be taking the sanctions off. Okay? I don't want him to waste his time answering that question because we're working very closely with Marco Rubio, very famous man, great Secretary of State, and with Scott Bessent, and with Pete and everybody else. We're going to be taking the sanctions off. It's time to do that. Okay?
Mr. President, you said that
We don't want to sanction friends. It's very simple. There's plenty of people we can sanction, and we are sanctioned. We don't want to sanction friends. And because of the president, you know, we have a very good relationship with the new leader of Syria, and he's done an amazing job. In a year and a half, he's pulled the whole country together. And I have a very great relationship with him. And somebody said, well, he's pretty rough to put him there. I approved him along with the president. We were the two that really wanted him, and he's done a great job. He's done a great job. He's pulled it together. Not an easy job.
Mr. President,
can you clarify what you meant with your social media post yesterday with respect to Prime Minister Maloney? That True Social post with the restraining order?
Oh, I don't know. I think she's a nice person, actually. We had a bad relationship. It became a little bad because she refused to help us. Again, I didn't put a heavy press on her, but she refused to get involved with the Hormuz Strait, or you could also say just Iran. She refused to get involved. So it soured my relationship with her a little bit. But I like her. I think she's a nice person, actually. But I think she made a mistake. You know, they get a lot of their oil from... We don't get any oil. We have a lot of oil. The United States has more oil than anybody. And when you add Venezuela to it, it's like we have far more oil than anyone. We don't need the straits. We do this because we think it's an important thing to do. But she just wasn't there for us. And I wasn't happy about that. You can imagine, I wasn't happy about that.
Mr. President, you seem to express optimism that a deal between Russia and Ukraine is close. Why do you think that? What conditions have changed? Did Putin seem...
About with what?
Russia-Ukraine. Did Putin seem open to any concessions that he
Never
had?
changed. I just don't want him killing people. You know, it doesn't affect the United States. When Biden was here, he gave them hundreds of billions of dollars worth of equipment. Now I sell the equipment for, you know, fair price, full price. And I sell it not to Ukraine, I sell it to the European Union. They pay us. But with me, it's not anything to do other than I'd like to save lives. You have 25, 35, 30. One time it hit 41,000 a month. Souls. They're dead. They leave their mother in Ukraine. They leave their mother and father in Russia, Ukraine. They wave goodbye. And a week later, they're dead. It's crazy. And I would like to see, it doesn't affect us. It's really, you know, it's far away. It affects Europe much more. We're there to help Europe. But it doesn't affect the United States. We have an ocean in between. But, you know, it's just, I can't stand watching what's happening. I've seen the pictures of those battlefields, and it's a drone war. It's a war of drones. It's a whole new technology. And we're actually the leader in drones now. We have the most sophisticated drones, but people wouldn't believe how violent it is. And I've seen the battlefields. They send me pictures. I actually want to say, don't send them to me. Pete, this man right here, sends me pictures. Pete X said. And I said, Pete, you know what? There's enough to look. I've never seen anything like it. It's carnage. And it should stop.
Did Putin seem open to any concessions? Did Putin seem open to any concessions to end the war? Did Putin seem open to any concessions to end the war in your call with him?
We get along very well with both, and we're going to get it settled. And President Erdogan is helping us get it settled, as he's helping with arrests. That's my relationship with NATO. Denmark. Denmark doesn't spend money to really help Greenland, but it's an important part for the United States. And it's surrounded by China ships and Russian ships. And that's not going to happen. Ships, it's not going to happen. It was Greenland that, and it continues to be, that should be controlled by the United States, not by Denmark. And when they wouldn't go along with it, and with all the money we spent to help them with Russia, and we don't have to spend any money, we could remove all of our soldiers out of Europe. Because as you probably noticed, Europe's a very different place than it was 20 years ago. A lot different, much different. Much different, and they better be careful with immigration and energy. If they're not careful with those two things, you're not going to have a Europe anymore.
Mr. President,
President Trump meeting with Turkish President Erdogan prior to the NATO summit taking place in the Turkish capital of Ankara tomorrow. A couple quick facts about Turkey per grok. The country's population, 88 million. Turkey is the only country in the world located on two continents, Europe and Asia. And the first coins in history were minted in Lydia, located in Western Turkey around the 7th century BC. Before we move on with our live broadcast, let's go with some of our great sponsors, including All Family Pharmacy. Now, this is interesting because today's the last day for this buy one, get one free sale. Our friends at All Family Pharmacy are kicking off Independence Day, the whole time to celebrate, of course, with their biggest sale of the year. And if you've been thinking about getting prepared, you don't want to miss this. Until today, July 7th, they're offering that buy one, get one free on the following: ivermectin capsules, mebendazole capsules, ivermectin creams, and hydroxychloroquine. So we're told this sale was a huge success last year, and they're making it even bigger this time by adding more products. All Family Pharmacy believes in medical freedom, patient choice, and giving Americans easier access to the medications they trust. Now, during this sale, whatever quantity you order of these select medications, they'll send you the same amount free. So if you order 30 capsules of ivermectin, you get 30 free, so a total of 60. The process is simple. You just complete a quick online medical form. A licensed physician reviews your request and, if appropriate, provides a prescription. Then your medications are shipped straight to your door. So if you've been waiting for the right time to stock up and save, this is it, because sales like this only come around a few times a year. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Again, today's the last day for the buy one, get one free sale. You can also call them if you have any questions about any of the medications. You call them at 561-717-6794. Again, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Before we wrap up our broadcast here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, let's go now to a Trump on Truth video segment. We'll be right back right after that. Here's clip number 4.
Today we come to the heartland of America to pay tribute to a man who embodied the heart and soul and fight and spirit of our country as much as anyone who ever lived. TR had transformed his country by the reach of his vision and by the force of his will into one of the greatest empires, ready to take its rightful place as the strongest and most respected nation anywhere in the world. The life of Theodore Roosevelt reminds us that Americans never give up. We don't give up. He never stopped, never quit, never surrendered. Theodore Roosevelt reminds us all that to be a great nation and to be a free nation, we must have courage. Without courage, you have nothing. He refused to accept failure, mediocrity, corruption, decay, or decline, and neither should we. As America turns 250 years old, we look at this remarkable man, and we recall that with effort, determination, and drive, there is nothing that Americans of competence cannot do.
It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred with dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
Tonight we come together for one of the most joyous and glorious milestones of all time. For 2.5 centuries, our American Republic has stood as the crowning achievement of human history. This country is the home of freedom. This is the land of liberty. And this is a flag that's the banner of the most extraordinary, most exceptional, most incredible nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. No people have done more good, shown more courage, made more progress, righted more injustice, or achieved more greatness than you, the American people. We have thrived and flourished because our founders were great, our cause was just, our people are brave, our culture is exceptional, and our destiny is written by God. After 250 years, the spirit of 1776 still lives within us all, still burns in the heart of every patriot, and still lights the entire world with the glow of American liberty. This is only the dawn of the golden age of America, and tonight our country is stronger, freer, richer, safer, and prouder than ever before.
A lot of footage over the past 3 to 4 days, of course, here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. A lot of you were watching, of course, on July 3rd and July 4th. Let's go to a couple of our sponsors before we get ready to close our broadcast. Now, if we have any other live breaking news, we'll be here for it, whether on our social platforms or live right here in the studio. Also tomorrow, big day for the NATO Summit there, as we'll see President Trump. He'll be hosting a press conference as well. We'll have all of that coverage tomorrow. Let's go to that sponsor you see right there, tnusa.com/RSBN. You can call Tax Network USA right now, 877-479-6503. This is all about mainly back taxes. Now, you might have a number of tax questions out there, and this is the crew that knows how to take care of business, give you financial peace of mind, because however your tax issue started, the outcome is the same. Your balance, it's just not going down. The penalties grow, the interest compounds, and a number of people still have the back taxes to take care of. So the IRS, they're not waiting. The IRS is enforcing collections through wage garnishments, bank levies, property seizures. They could even file for you without your consent, and this is really where Tax Network USA comes in. With more than 15 years in business, there hasn't been a tax case they haven't seen or resolved, and they specialize in tax controversies and help taxpayers nationwide get back on track by resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. So whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their team has resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. They can do the same for you, but you have to call now. They're offering a free investigation call with the IRS, and after that investigation, they put a clear case plan in place to resolve your tax problem and get you back on track. This is about using your legal rights to take control before the government sets the terms for you. So don't wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account. Call 877-479-6503. Again, that's 877-479-6503, or just go to tnusa.com/RSBN. Our next sponsor, this is a fun one. Those of you that are pet lovers out there, of course, check this out, the Kids Guide for the Founders Furry Friends. I want to take a minute to speak to all the parents watching today. It's officially the dog days of summer. As you guys know, man, the humidity in some parts of the country. And if your house is anything like ours used to be, that means the dog sprawls out on the coolest tile floor he or she can find and refusing to move for anyone. And it seems our dogs tend to run the house, and honestly, some of us wouldn't have it any other way. Well, here's a fun fact. Our founding fathers were the exact same way. Turns out long before they were founding a nation, they were the original dog people, tails wagging in the halls of Mount Vernon and Monticello, muddy paw prints on important documents, maybe. Our founders loved their dogs every bit as much as we love ours today. So with America's 250th birthday, what better way to get kids excited about history than through the goofy, loyal, tail-wagging companions who were there for it all. Our friends at the Kids Guide have put together a great guide called The Kids Guide to the Founders Furry Friends, giving kids a fun and heartwarming look at the dogs who stood and sat and probably begged for scraps beside our nation's founders. It's the perfect keepsake souvenir for kids. So they're giving this away for free at freeusadoggift.com. Plus, when you request your copy, they're also giving you a second free guide called The Kids Guide to the Founder's Message for Today. Really a must-read for every child. So during these dog days of summer, head on over to freeusadoggift.com and you can get these free guides for your family and help celebrate America's 250th birthday the right way. freeusadoggift.com. It's 9:23 Eastern Time. Those of you watching out there on the West Coast, wow, you're up early, 6:23 in the morning. It was 6:15 Central Time here in Alabama, so we're on the Central Time Zone here in this state. That's when we started our broadcast this morning. So 7:15 in the morning, bright and early here for you on Tuesday, July 7th, of course, because President Trump is out there in Ankara, Turkey, meeting with the president there, President Erdogan. And then tomorrow is the NATO Summit. There's a lot of coverage we'll have here on Right Side, whether live right here in the studio or on our social platforms. We also know President Trump will be hosting a press conference tomorrow at that NATO Summit. So also, in regards to what we're covering there for the NATO Summit, if there's any breaking news, anything that's major going on in the 24/7 news cycle, we could always talk about that and see what's going on there as well. As of course, you see what our bread and butter is here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. It was, at Mount Rushmore on July 3rd, then July 4th in Washington, D.C. for Independence Day, and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, upwards of 1.5 million plus, and the number is probably much larger than that because, there's a lot of different platforms that you could watch with Right Side. But, joined us for all of those events. And we hope that you would do the same as we continue to cover what's going on out there in your world. So, again, from a perspective that is common sense, that is all about we the people. At the end of the day, it's about freedom and we the people. So thanks so much for watching here on Right Side. Now, before we actually wrap, let's do this. In other news, the RNC Midterm National Convention will be held, of course, on September 9th and 10th of this year in Dallas, Texas at the American Airlines Center. I've been there before for a Dallas Stars hockey game, and I can say that at that game, I remember the national anthem, everybody there in the arena, it was against the St. Louis Blues, I remember it to this day, because I like hockey. I've been to a number of arenas. I've heard the national anthem in New York, in Buffalo, specifically New York City and in Buffalo, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Colorado, Los Angeles, the list goes on, Montreal. because they were playing, it was the Rangers and Canadiens. I'm getting on a bunny trail here, but let me get back to the story. Usually at the hockey games, the national anthem, you know, the crowd still chants and boos, and it's just a ruckus crowd. But in Dallas, every single person, every fan there at this playoff game had their hands on their hearts and sang the national anthem. I just remember that to this day. It's great to see the various fans, how they do what they do. And in Chicago, everybody sings and claps and cheers at the beginning of the Blackhawk games. Anyway, enough of that. But we do know, again, I've been talking about that midterm national convention for the RNC for quite some time. For several months, I've been like, when is this going to be? Where is it going to be? And why would I be so fascinated with it? Well, because this has never happened before. Usually the RNC conventions are just during those presidential cycles. Well, this time, there's a midterm RNC national convention in Dallas in September. Huge event going into the midterms. Anyway, so we'll see that coverage, of course, throughout. Also, outside of that, let's go to President Trump speaking on Truth Social just a few days ago, clip number 3, referring to a political article saying, quote, Republicans, look what I just found. He's referring to this political article. The Democrats are openly stating that they plan to terminate the filibuster if they ever get power or ever take power and expand the Supreme Court. In other words, they will add 2 radical left states. Most likely that would be D.C. becoming a state, Puerto Rico becoming a state, 4 Democrat senators, many congressmen, women, and their dream of 21 Supreme Court justices, not just 13, the president says, an unlucky number, an impossible to beat number of electoral college votes. And the president says, and that's the ball game. He says, quote unquote, popular vote landslides and so much else. The Republican Party will never win another election, the president said. This was on July 3rd. How much longer are you going to allow this to happen to you? They will terminate the filibuster in their first hour. And I'll be sitting home with tears in my eyes saying, quote, I told you so, end quote. President Trump talking about that political article. And I think, you know, referencing terminating the filibuster so we can pass what? What would we want to pass right now that is very important? The Save America Act. But it doesn't look like the Republicans are going to nuke the filibuster, and instead, we may have some problems coming up in our country. It's called the Save America Act for a reason, right? So anyway, just seeing and calling it how it is, and great to see President Trump speaking about it, like usual, when it comes to the Save America Act, indirectly through that post. This live stream brought to you by a number of great sponsors, including MyPillow.com, the great Mike Lindell. There he is right there. MyPillow.com/RSBN. A number of awesome products that you guys can purchase right now if you'd like. You know, yeah, definitely, if you can. If you have a few extra bucks in the debit on the debit card in the bank account, go ahead and purchase maybe, I don't know, the Giza Dream Sheets. They're amazing. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Great sponsor here on Right Side. And if you'd like to donate to Right Side while you're in that debit card looking at the count and all that, if you have it, RSBN or RSBNetwork.com/donate. RSBNetwork.com/donate. Thank you so much for watching this live stream broadcast. Those of you that have watched since 7:15 Eastern Time, 6:15 Central Time, and the times get earlier in the morning as you go west, the Mountain Time, the Pacific Time. Thank you for watching. We'll see you here again soon. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you later.